The White Shadow of the Forbidden Forest, a West African mystery based on lost footage. In 1969, a British journalist named Malcolm Kent flew to the dense rainforests of eastern Nigeria with his film crew, chasing one of the most disturbing rumors to ever emerge from the Biafran War. They were searching for a missing white man, a wealthy European who had vanished 3 years earlier in the most mysterious region of the Niger Delta. His name was Edmund Whitmore, and according to whispers among the forest people, he was still alive. 40 years later, when that footage was finally watched, they discovered something on those old film reels that would shake everyone who saw it. Something that suggested Edmund Whitmore's fate was far stranger and far darker than anyone could have imagined. As our elders say, some who enter the forbidden forest never return, and some who return are no longer who they were. This is that story. Act 1. The Son of Privilege. The Whitmore Legacy. Edmund Whitmore III was born into one of London's wealthiest families in 1937. His father had made a fortune in West African palm oil, mining concessions across the Gold Coast and Nigeria. The Whitmores owned estates in Hampshire, apartments in London, and had more money than sense. But Edmund was different. While his brothers enjoyed fox hunting and society balls, Edmund was fascinated by anthropology and African culture. He studied at Cambridge but spent more time reading about tribal societies than attending lectures. His family thought it was a phase. It wasn't. In 1959, at age 22, Edmund traveled to Nigeria for the first time. Officially, he was there to inspect his family's business interests. Unofficially, he wanted to study the indigenous peoples of the Niger Delta, particularly the reclusive Eku people who lived deep in the rainforest near Calabar. The Eku were feared and misunderstood. They practiced ancient rituals that outsiders called primitive and savage. They carved elaborate wooden figures called Inkisi, spirit guardians believed to house the souls of warriors until their deaths were avenged. Edmund was obsessed. The First Contact. Edmund hired local guides and ventured into Eku territory, a place most Nigerians avoided. The forest there was so dense that sunlight barely reached the ground. The rivers ran dark as ink, and the Eku themselves, they did not welcome strangers. But Edmund was persistent and respectful. He learned their language, or tried to. He brought gifts. He documented their carvings, their ceremonies, their stories. He filmed everything with his Super 8 camera, footage that would later be shown at Cambridge and even make its way to the British Museum. During his first expedition in 1960, Edmund witnessed something that would change him forever. A sacred Ukaba ceremony, a ritual funeral for warriors who had died violently. The ceremony involved drums, chanting, and what Edmund's colleagues later called disturbing practices that he refused to fully describe in his journals. He wrote, "They believe that the boundary between the living and the dead is thinner here than anywhere else in the world, and after what I've seen, I'm not certain they are wrong." His family was horrified when they learned he'd been staying with cannibals. They demanded he return home immediately. Edmund refused. The Fatal Return. In early 1961, Edmund returned to England briefly, just enough to convince his father to fund another expedition. He wanted to acquire a sacred Nkisi figure, a massive carved pole that the Eku believed contained the spirits of 12 warriors killed by colonial soldiers. He argued with his father, "These aren't just artifacts, these are living spiritual objects. If I can bring one back, I can prove that Western anthropology has been looking at African culture all wrong." His father reluctantly agreed, hoping this obsession would finally pass. Edmond returned to Nigeria in September 1961 with provisions, trade goods, and a small crew. A French photographer named Laurent and 2 Efik guides named Obong and Bassi, who knew the forest routes. He never came back.